everybody. I'm here to talk about another bookish topic that has been on my mind lately. I've been thinking about and talking to people about what the upsides and downsides are to having authors on social media. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. So basically there are three main questions that I've been thinking about when it comes to this topic. How does an author's social media enhance the reader's experience with the work? And how does it worsen the reader's experience? And how much of an author do we as an audience have a right to? And I think that that last one is a question that really is something to think about with all well-known figures on the internet. How much do we have a right to? How much can we expect? But I think there are a lot of really good things that come with having authors on social media connecting with their readers. My first-hand experience with this is that I have had some really fantastic interactions with authors on the internet, with me posting tweets about really loving a book and then having the author like or comment on it, having authors reblog my posts on Tumblr, having authors like my posts on Instagram. It's just really like heartwarming and cool to be able to interact with people who make the things that you really enjoy. It's not common over all hobbies. Most people would never be able to excessively interact with the artists that they really love. And in the book community, if you're active enough, chances are you're going to interact with an author. And it's actually super easy. Many authors will just post on Goodreads and you can comment, or they run blogs where they talk about things that you can comment on and they will probably talk to you if they're not like the most famous authors in the world. But I think that's like a really incredible thing to be able to connect with the people that make the things that you love. I also think that it's great that being on the internet lets them connect with their readers in a way that helps them market and share news and promote their books. I think that that's cool. I have no problem with people using the internet to make money, whether it be on YouTube or marketing campaigns or advertisements. Like, we're all just trying to get by in this capitalist terrible system, and if the way that you can do that is through the internet, then you're not going to get any judgment from me. And I love that authors are utilizing the internet in order to promote themselves. You also get really cool instances like authors like John Green, where a big part of their appeal is their internet presence. Not that he's like such a bad writer, but people were more excited about his books because they felt more connected to him because of his and his brother's videos and their Tumblrs and their Twitters, and just being able to interact with them made them more popular and made him more successful as a writer. I'm sure he would have had success anyway, but it's a different kind of phenomenon when it's partially driven by social media. Not a worse thing, but it's important to notice that this is part of the impact of social media. Part of the way that his book was marketed and sold so well was because people felt connected to him already. People already felt like they knew him over social media, and so then they were more excited and more inclined to buy and love his books. It's also very cool because authors being on social media really helps humanize them and take away a lot of the mystique when it comes to authors. They used to be completely inaccessible, like most people were, and now it's really easy to see what's going on in their lives and follow them on Instagram and see what they think about the book tour and see what they think about events in the world. And I think that there are cases where that mystery is a good thing and cases where it's just fine without it. Like, I don't have any problem either way, it's just the author's choice. And so if the author chooses to retain their mystery by staying off of social media, that is completely fine. But in the cases where they do go on social media, it really helps to humanize them to their audience, which I think is a really fantastic thing. But it's not all just like roses and good things. There are also some questionable things when it comes to having authors on social media, following authors on social media. So the question for me is, would it ruin it for me if I found out through social media that an author was just a shitty person? Would I like that book less? And unfortunately for me, I think that the answer is definitely yes. And the reason that I started to think about this at all, and the example that I'm going to use, is one about Colleen Hoover. So I don't think I ever really loved Colleen Hoover, although I know she's like a beloved author by many. But right when I was getting really hard into reading, I think it was like last summer, right after I had graduated college and had all of my reading time back, no longer having to read all this assigned reading, I went on Goodreads, followed a bunch of authors that I had liked recently, and one of them was Colleen Hoover, and a few months later she posted a blog post arguing against trigger warnings, basically trying to justify herself not having provided trigger warnings on a book that really could have used trigger warnings. And I understand that it's complicated and you have to work with publishers and you have to convince other people too, but that's not what she was doing. She was talking about, this is why I don't think that I want trigger warnings on my book, and I'm just not down with that. I did end up interacting with her, commenting on her post, and really trying to make my point, which basically just comes down to kindness. You're warning someone who might need a warning, but if you don't need a warning, you don't have to look at the warning. Basically that it's the kind thing to do that other people might need and will broaden the amount of people who can comfortably read your books. And basically she kept arguing back that like it would ruin the plot twists, that it would give away what happens in the book, that it would this and that, and I just don't think that that's enough. Trigger warnings should be provided, and it's like really not a hard thing to do. It's their like ratings on movies, you know? It's like such an easy thing to do that will benefit so many people, and I don't really understand why trigger warnings on books haven't happened yet. Basically people who need trigger warnings can't just shop in a bookstore. They have to look up trigger warnings that other people have listed, not even the publisher or the author, but people who go out of their way to list trigger warnings on books that they've read for the benefit of other people. They have to look that up when really it should just, I think, be provided in like the back cover or in the copyright note or somewhere that you can look but you don't have to. Anyway, so I fought online with Colleen Hoover about trigger warnings, and I mean, it wasn't a huge deal, and she didn't change her mind, but ever since then I don't want to read Colleen Hoover's books. Like, it made me not want to support her as an author because I was like, well, that is a shitty thing to do. It's a shitty argument where you're lacking compassion for other people. I ended up like not liking her as a human being and therefore not wanting to buy and read her books. And so that, like, obviously I could have not engaged with her and probably not had that reaction, but I kind of felt like I had to because she is responsible for creating something that people are going to consume, and it's important to examine the ethics of what you're creating and how you're distributing it. So social media kind of ruined Colleen Hoover for me. The example that people use most often now for like social media kind of ruining authors is J.K. Rowling. Conservatives all over the world will tweet at her like, God, this has ruined Harry Potter for me. Your liberal politics has completely ruined it. Like, my childhood is gone. But she has every right to post what she posts. She has every right to tell you what she thinks. But the fact is that her presence on social media has lost her readers. And people who loved Harry Potter no longer love Harry Potter because the author has been ruined for them, although I don't know how they wouldn't have noticed the like blatant liberal themes throughout the entire book when they were reading it. Yeah, I don't know how they missed that. They claim that reading her tweets has ruined Harry Potter, similar to what I went through with Colleen Hoover. Plus, if an author is on social media, then they're more susceptible to like direct criticism from their readers who may not like what they put out, which is kind of emotionally dangerous for authors. It's emotionally dangerous for everyone, but I would imagine that that's like a tough thing to work and put out this one book and then have a platform on Twitter where literally anyone can anonymously create an account and just trash your book and like tag you in their bad reviews. It's like, that must suck. But I think that overall still having authors on social media has had a really positive impact on me. I've really enjoyed it. There are cases where I would have rather not seen what was posted because it did ruin the author, but there were also plenty of cases where I've really loved an author even more because of their social media presence, because they seemed so much more likable and human from their social media presence. Making authors more accessible, it's really a double-edged sword. Like, there are good things and there are bad things. It can be really hard to separate the artist from the art, to separate the author from the book, and I don't know whether I should be trying to separate the two. So let me know what you think, whether the artist is separate from the art, whether the author is separate from the book, and whether an author's social media presence has had an impact on your reading experience. And let me know the story, let me know why, I'd love to know. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.